Welcome back to the Audacity of Him, the only channel on the internet dedicated to the men who looked at the rules of polite society, laughed, and said, "Yeah, no thanks." Have you ever suffered from imposter syndrome? That nagging, icy feeling in the pit of your stomach that you don't belong in the room? That everyone around you is a polished professional and you are just three toddlers in a trench coat waiting to be exposed? Well, my friends, today we are talking about a man who didn't just cure his imposter syndrome, he weaponized it. He took the concept of fake it till you make it and turned it into an Olympic sport. In fact, if faking it were an Olympic sport, he would have snuck onto the podium, stolen the gold medal, and given the acceptance speech before the judges even noticed he wasn't on the roster. I'm talking about a man who had the unmitigated gall, the breathtaking cheek, the absolute audacity to infiltrate the highest echelons of professional sports and entertainment, armed with nothing but a custom-made uniform, a thick mustache, and the kind of confidence usually reserved for mediocre men explaining crypto at a dinner party. His name was Barry Bremen. He was a novelty goods salesman from Michigan. He passed away in 2011, making him a modern legend. And his story is going to make you question every single security guard you have ever seen in your life. Buckle up. This is the story of the Great Sports Imposter. The year is 1979. The place is the Pontiac Silverdome in Michigan. It's the NBA All-Star Game, the absolute pinnacle of professional basketball. You have legends in the building: Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Julius Erving, Moses Malone. The air is thick with the smell of popcorn, cheap beer, and athletic greatness. Down on the floor, the Kansas City Kings are running through their pregame warm-ups. The players are a symphony of muscle and coordination, sinking effortless layups and towering over the reporters on the sidelines. And then, there's Barry. Barry Bremen is 32 years old. He is a happily married father, an insurance and novelty goods salesman, and he currently has absolutely zero business being on a professional basketball court. Yet, there he is, wearing a meticulously procured Kansas City Kings uniform. How did he get it? He literally just asked a player for one a few days prior, leveraging a friend's connection, claiming it was for a superfan. But Barry wasn't going to frame it. Barry was going to wear it. He didn't just walk onto the court, he jogged onto the court. He joined the layup line. He started taking practice shots. Now, imagine you are a professional NBA player. You've been playing with these guys all season. Suddenly, you look to your left, and there is a suburban dad named Barry calling for a bounce pass. The audacity of him was so overpowering that it created a reality distortion field. The players just assumed he was a recently traded bench warmer, or perhaps a Make-A-Wish recipient who had aged terribly. Barry managed to stay on the floor for several glorious minutes, rebounding for superstars and tossing up bricks. Eventually, Otis Birdsong, a real Kansas City King, looked at this guy and said, "Hey, wait a minute, you're not on the team." Security swooped in. They grabbed Barry, expecting a crazed lunatic. Instead, they found a very polite novelty salesman who simply smiled, shrugged, and allowed himself to be escorted off the premises. But as he walked up the tunnel, the crowd, who had realized what was happening, started cheering. Barry Bremen had tasted the sweet, intoxicating nectar of the infiltration. The imposter beast had been awakened, and it was hungry. If the NBA All-Star Game was Barry testing the waters, his next stunt was a swan dive off the high board into a pool of pure, unfiltered madness. It was later that same year, 1979. The Dallas Cowboys were America's team, and the Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders were the most famous, tightly regulated, and elite squad of performers in the world. Getting onto that field was harder than getting into Fort Knox. Barry Bremen looked at his television screen, saw the iconic blue and white star-spangled uniforms, and thought, "I could rock that." Now, Barry was a 6'4", 230-pound man with chest hair that looked like a distressed Brillo pad. But Barry was a problem solver. He knew that the key to a good heist is the costume. So he went to a seamstress and spent over $1,200, which was serious money in 1979, to have a custom-made, perfectly tailored replica of the Dallas Cowboys cheerleader uniform constructed in a men's XXL. He lost 23 pounds. He shaved his legs. He practiced the routines by watching them on TV in his living room, much to the deep, existential exhaustion of his wife, Alice. By the way, Alice Bremen deserves her own monument for the sheer volume of, "Oh God, what is he doing now?" sighs she must have produced during their marriage. Game day arrives. The Cowboys are playing the Washington Redskins. It's a nationally televised game. The security is tight. Barry wears a long trench coat over his cheerleading uniform. He sneaks into Texas Stadium by blending in with a massive crowd of people near the VIP entrance. He makes his way down to the field level. He waits for the exact perfect moment, a television timeout where the cheerleaders form their iconic kick line. With the speed of a gazelle and the subtlety of a freight train, Barry rips off the trench coat. He bursts out of the tunnel and sprints onto the field, pom-poms blazing. He merges into the line. He starts doing the routine. "Go, Dallas! Go, Dallas!" he screams, thrusting his pom-poms into the Texas air. The crowd goes absolutely ballistic. It takes the actual cheerleaders a solid 5 seconds to realize that the person beside them smells like Old Spice and unhinged ambition. When the Cowboys' security team spotted him, it was like someone had released a bear into the Louvre. They swarmed him. But Barry, ever the showman, didn't fight back. He kept cheering as he was being violently tackled and dragged off the field by furious, red-faced Texas security guards. The Cowboys slapped him with a $5,000 lawsuit for trespassing and trademark infringement. But the judge threw it out, basically ruling, "It's too funny to be a crime." The audacity of him was now officially a matter of public record. By 1980, Barry Bremen was a known entity. Security guards across the country had his photo taped to their walkie-talkies. "If you see this tall, goofy man with a mustache, tackle him." You would think this would deter a normal person. But as we have established on the audacity of him, we are not dealing with a normal person. We are dealing with an apex predator of the infiltration arts. Barry realized that the fatal flaw in his previous capers was that he tried to be part of the talent. Players and cheerleaders are heavily scrutinized. But who is the most invisible person on a sports field? The person everyone ignores until they make a mistake? The referee. It was Game 5 of the 1980 World Series, the Philadelphia Phillies versus the Kansas City Royals. The stakes were astronomical. Barry managed to acquire an official Major League Baseball umpire's uniform. And we aren't talking a Halloween costume. We are talking the exact authenticated threads. He slipped into the bowels of Veterans Stadium. Now, the sheer psychological warfare of this next move is why Barry is a legend. He didn't sneak onto the field during a break. He walked out of the tunnel with the actual umpires. He casually fell into step with the umpiring crew as they marched out to home plate for the national anthem. The umpires are standing there, chest out, soaking in the gravity of the World Series. The umpire next to Barry looks to his right. He sees a guy he has never met in his entire life, standing there with a solemn look of patriotic duty. The real umpire leans over and whispers, "Who are you?" Barry doesn't break character. He whispers back, out of the corner of his mouth, "I'm Barry. I'm the new guy." The audacity! The new guy! At Game 5 of the World Series! As if MLB just hired a temp off Craigslist to call balls and strikes for George Brett. The umpires immediately panicked and waved over security, who escorted Barry off the field before the first pitch was thrown. But the damage was done. He had stood at home plate at the World Series. He had beaten the system from the inside out. By 1985, sports security had completely blacklisted him. They knew his face, his aliases, probably his blood type. Barry was essentially banned from every major sporting arena in North America. So, what does an imposter do when his main stage is shut down? He changes genres. It's the 37th Primetime Emmy Awards in Pasadena, California. The room is packed with the biggest stars in Hollywood. Security is impenetrable, Secret Service level. You need a ticket, a credential, a laminate, and an escort just to get to the bathrooms. How did Barry Bremen get in? Nobody knows for sure, but the prevailing theory is that he just put on a very expensive tuxedo, walked extremely fast, and looked annoyed. Pro tip: if you walk fast and look annoyed, people just assume you are a very important producer. Peter Graves is on stage. He opens the envelope. And the Emmy for Best Supporting Actress goes to Betty Thomas for Hill Street Blues. The audience erupts in applause. The camera pans the room, looking for Betty Thomas. But Betty Thomas is in the back of the auditorium, and it's taking her a while to get down the aisle. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does Barry Bremen. Barry realized there was an empty stage, a live microphone, and a golden trophy just sitting there. He leaped out of his seat. He walks right up to Peter Graves. Peter Graves, a seasoned Hollywood veteran, assumes this man is a producer, a writer, or someone accepting the award on Betty's behalf. Graves hands Barry the Emmy Award. Barry steps up to the microphone. He looks out at a sea of the most famous faces on Earth. Millions of people are watching live on television. He leans into the mic and says, "Betty couldn't be here tonight, so she asked me to accept this on her behalf." He then turns and walks off the stage with the Emmy. A few seconds later, the real Betty Thomas arrives on stage, looking around bewildered, wondering where her trophy went. The audience is in utter shock. It is live television chaos. Security tackled Barry backstage, ripped the Emmy from his hands, and threw him in a Pasadena jail cell for the night. He was fined $175. But Barry didn't care. He had just won an Emmy for Best Supporting Actress. The absolute, unbridled, magnificent audacity of him. Barry didn't stop there. Over the years, he snuck into the U.S. Open golf tournament and actually played a practice round with the legendary Wayne Levi and Fred Couples before officials realized he wasn't a touring pro. Dressed as a line judge at the Super Bowl and successfully patrolled the sidelines. Posed as a Houston Astros player and shagged fly balls in the outfield. He never hurt anyone. He never stole anything. Well, except maybe the spotlight for a few fleeting seconds. He never did it for money, or a YouTube prank channel, or TikTok clout, because none of those things existed yet. He did it because it was funny. He did it to prove a point about the illusion of authority. Authority is often just a costume and a confident stride. Society operates on the assumption that everyone is exactly where they are supposed to be. Barry Bremen found the glitch in the matrix. If you act like you belong, 99% of the time, the world will just step aside and let you through. Barry sadly passed away in 2011 from esophageal cancer on his 64th birthday. But he left behind a legacy that is completely unmatched. When asked why he did it, Barry once told a reporter, "I just wanted to see if I could, and it turns out you can." He was a master of the human psyche. He knew that the people checking tickets at the gate are just tired employees waiting to go on their lunch break. He knew that million-dollar athletes are so focused on their game that they don't look at the faces of the people passing them the ball. He was the Great Sports Imposter, A suburban dad who hacked reality using nothing but polyester, a fake mustache, and a titanium-plated set of nerves. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why Barry Bremen will forever be inducted into the Hall of Fame here at the Audacity of Him. If you want to pull off a heist like Barry, you need two things. First, an incredibly supportive partner to bail you out of jail. And second, you need to confidently click that subscribe button right down below. Leave a comment down below telling me which of Barry's stunts was your favorite. Was it the cheerleader routine? The Emmy theft? Or are you just deeply impressed by his leg-shaving commitment? Let me know. Hit the like button, ring that notification bell so you never miss a video, and remember, the next time you feel like you don't belong in the room, just remember Barry. Put on your metaphorical Kansas City Kings warm-up suit and go shoot your shot. Until next time, keep your audacity high, and I'll see you in the next video.